Welcome to the Rosbergs, your marriage coaches. Join Dr. Gary and Barbie Rosberg, America's family coaches, who bring 4 decades of empowering marriages across the U.S. and internationally for this podcast to equip you and your partner with encouragement and tools for a great marriage. Here now are your hosts, Dr. Gary and Barbie Rosberg.
We are Dr. Gary and Barbie Rosberg. We are your marriage coaches, and we are so jazzed about what we get to do with you today to come alongside of you to really begin to learn the art of quick repairs of conflict.
You know, we've learned that conflict does not destroy marriages, but what does is unregulated conflict. So when we have unregulated conflict, we continue to escalate, add to it, hurt our spouses, and walk away even further and further distance.
So whether you had a disagreement 5 minutes ago or last weekend or whatever, and you're still having that lingering hanging over you, this episode is for you. And this is very practical teaching. I taught it this morning to 100 guys. I talked about this to 600 guys in Chicago last Saturday. You know, Barbie, you and I are helping the couples that we do marriage coaching with. And this is money to relationships. And we're going to go through a couple different processes. This is all rooted in James 1:19. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. And we're going to take you over the pond. And that doesn't mean to England. We're taking you over the big pond. We're going all the way to Japan to help you get some insight into what the Japanese culture has done for generations in resolving conflict. And we're going to help you out with this.
Well, Gary, you just said it so well. James 1:19,
Yes.
To be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And notice the process that God builds in self-regulation before we have resolution. So we really need to listen, gather information, and then process together. This is going to be a great program because we have learned that in over 80% of long-term marriages, we have learned that they resolve differences within 30 minutes. In other words, they have very quick repairs. And so we are going to learn from the Japanese today.
Well, and also going back to scripture, do not let the sun go down on your anger. Mm-hmm. And it's the lingering of conflict. It's the open loops. It's the unfinished business. It's the mounting of offense upon offense upon offense. And maybe you grew up in a family that avoided. Maybe you grew up in a family that there was an overpowering person so that you didn't feel heard or seen. But we're doing some marriage events. We're seeing this. We're seeing it with our coaching clients. And this morning with 100 guys at Cross Trainers, a men's group that I started with another guy back in the 80s. I asked those guys, how many of you guys, when your spouse kind of provokes something or says something or is offended, you just react, gutturally, you react out of your emotion. And before you know it, you're off to the races. And my hand went up and every hand in the room went up. And so what we're going to give you today is, we think, really money for your relationship. This is a way to learn how to self-regulate and practice something, Barbie, that the Japanese call
Ma. And before we get to it, you just talked about self-regulation.
Yeah.
When our brains are dysregulated, the last thing you want to do is have empathy, have compassion,
That's good.
or have understanding. I mean, when your brain is just mixing up all of those chemicals and motions, there's no way you can sort through it. So as Gary just said, the key word right now is
Ma.
And it's spelled M-A with 2 dots over that A. And in the Japanese language, it means space between. So to give space, I love the word of God that says, be still.
Yeah,
Leave
good,
room
Barbie.
for God. Be still and know that I am God, the Bible says.
Yeah.
But be still and leave room for your brain to calm down and to find this place where we pause for 2 to 5 minutes.
2 to 5 minutes.
Now, we're not punishing. We're not stonewalling. We're not being uppity. And you're not making a list of all the bad things your spouse did. But it's a time to pause and regulate. I mean, focus. Gary, what'd you learn in graduate school?
Yeah, in graduate school, I mean, I was in a existentialist school of psychology, kind of a humanistic school of psychology. And they would say things like, when you're having conflict, count to 10 before you say something. And I remember for years, I would think of that and go, well, that's just, kind of mumbo jumbo.
It sounds like, when you're a kid and your mom says, count to 10 or count to
before
20.
You bonk your sister or something. But you know what, Barbie? It's true. If you stop and you allow your emotions to regulate before your mouth regulates, that's what my dad would have said. Something happens and you get a gut check in there. And I love what you said. You're not remaining silent to punish your spouse.
No.
So you better tell your spouse to listen to this program so that you both heard it, so you both know what you're practicing. Otherwise, if you do this abruptly, your spouse is going to go, well, what are you thinking? Why don't you say something? And many times when somebody's out of control, isn't it amazing? What they're really often subliminally doing, I think, is throwing out the bait and hooking their spouse so that their spouse will elevate with them and it will be both at a feverish pitch. But when that happens, we aren't practicing James 1:19. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. What we're doing is we're taking the hook and the provocation and joining, and all of a sudden you're off to the races. What we want to do is take a deep breath. We want to calm the body first and then let the wisdom follow. And in marriage coaching, we say it this way: a regulated heart hears love more clearly.
Oh, that is so good.
You wrote that.
No.
Yeah, that's why it's so good.
What?
I just wrote it down.
Just quote me.
You quote me. Who? I said that?
So really, the pause will stop the regret that you could have for years and years ahead of time. It puts an end to it. It stops it.
See, here the pause is the space between the emotion and the reaction. Now, that is really interesting. So it's a space between those two things. It doesn't just allow the emotion to just barrel into the reaction. It's a space between. And Barbie, when you said it's minutes, how many minutes?
3 to 5.
Yeah, 3 to 5 minutes. That's a lot of minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of minutes to self-regulate.
Well, and to not say anything.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just want to get it out there. But, I mean, it always feels so lousy when you're the last one to have said something crummy.
Well, Proverbs 29:11 says, fools give full vent to their rage, but the wise bring calm in the end. That's a proverb. I mean, that's brilliant. So that's not only godly, not only inspired by the Lord, but it works.
So
it really does work.
In Japanese tradition, I know that you said that, is it physical regulation follows emotional regulation?
Well, it's the space between the emotion and the reaction. And yes, so self-regulation before resolution is what God builds into it.
Okay.
And so when we do that, then we're, I think then we're fulfilling what God's calling us to do. Now, calm the body first. And Barbie, the Japanese term for that is sation. I'm sure we're mispronouncing all of this.
Of course we are. And I hope all of our listeners that are Japanese will write in because we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
But I prefer you say it.
Well, so it's spelled sation.
And it means spirit.
And calm the body first. Calm the body first. And that's a physical regulation. So in the Japanese tradition, emotional clarity follows that physical regulation. So Barbie, give our listeners a practical way to do this.
Well, we're going to give you something practical, as you said, Gary, but it, in a way it reminds me of when we went through childbirth classes.
Me too.
No, totally. And they gave an example in our research to when you're in this place of ma, and you're pausing and focus on Christ, focused on, Christ, I want to have your mind and be like you. Help me align with you in this moment. But as you do this, consider this exercise. Breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds. Gary, you want to illustrate?
Yeah, I've got sinus issues, but yeah, so You breathe in, counting to 4. You
And
hold
then
it.
You hold it.
For like 2 seconds.
And then you exhale through your mouth for six
yeah.
seconds.
6 seconds.
But you know, this, seriously, I have, do you ever have time? Do you ever have nights where you cannot go to sleep? And I will try some breathing along with different things to breathe in, for 4, hold it, and breathe out for 6, just to calm my mind, to allow my spirit and my physical sensation to catch up so that I can relax and go to sleep. In the same way, when we're getting ready to have our 2 chairs conversation, resolve a difference, ideally within 30 minutes to have a quick repair. Then we can move on. And honestly, you forget what you were even in conflict about, but you can high five one another about resolving it well. And so go ahead.
Well, Barbie, all of this is saying that when there's a provocation, don't react, but self-regulate, listen, breathe, then begin to step into the resolution of the issue and try to do all of that within 30 minutes. Now, think about it. If you self-regulate, take a deep breath, and you ponder before you react, you're not going to add 2, 3, 4, 5 more issues, which are going to take you beyond 30 minutes. And so even though this sounds like this is taking a lot of time, what it's really going to do is cut down the time.
And it makes the environment feel so safe. It's
safe.
About safety.
And safety is the ticket for a healthy marriage. And so you want to make it safe because it loses its safety when emotions rage up and they overwhelm the other person. And, honey, I looked in those 100 faces this morning, and every guy, including me, I could have held the mirror up and would have doubled the number in the room. We all do this, especially in our masculinity. Or I think women do it when they're afraid. I think guys do it in our masculinity to rise up because we feel out of control. I think women may do this in order to regain ground that they have lost because they have lost this trust and safety.
Well, and we feel like we're not being heard.
Yeah, not being heard.
Or validated.
Yeah.
Or listened to. I mean, any number of things. But I think you're right. Gary, there is another value, a very high value, and I'm going to spell it. It's REI.
REI.
And we are going to assume that it is Rei in the Japanese language. Again, all of you are Japanese listeners, please write in. But it means to experience the lovely, to have gratitude, to respect, to have honor and courtesy that you are also welcoming in. So you have the ma, you have the, what was it?
Sashane.
And then you have the
rye.
Rye. Not Ray, it's rye.
Ray or rye. That's the respect, Barbie, the honor and the courtesy, even in the midst of the disagreement.
That's powerful.
And it is powerful.
That is really powerful.
Well, the next statement's powerful because you tell me this often. Tone matters more than the topic.
Yeah. Yes. You can be honest without being harsh.
Yeah.
I love this Yale research. I think I say it in most of our podcasts. Yeah. And I'm in case this is your first time, second, or 99th, I want you to say it with me if you've heard it before, that out of the entire message, 55% is your body language. 38%. I'd like to say it's the whole womb of your message. 38% is tone of voice, and only 7% is words. So if you're going to say it gently. If you're speaking to your wife, most women are feminine. The more feminine your wife is, the more quiet and gentle you need to be, because this is the way God designed her. And boy, will she love it if you can say it with love. Gary, what else?
Well, Paul says that in Ephesians 4, verse 29, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only that which is helpful for building others up. Yeah, what this is all about is treating your spouse with the honor and the dignity and the esteem and the safety that you're not there to win. You're not there to persuade. You're not there to override the other person. You're there to affirm and to bless and create safety so you can get to the other side of the misunderstanding. Giving your spouse the benefit of the doubt. And that's another issue here is if you're in the midst of conflict, and you believe the best before you believe the worst, your spouse is going to be drawn to you. If your automatic thought or observation is what's wrong with your spouse, they're not going to feel esteemed and encouraged. So I think that's a big issue as well.
And when I am sitting in that chair in discussion with you, trying to self-regulate in conflict, one of the most important things I can do is tell myself, I care more about our marriage than winning the argument.
Yeah.
Because if our marriage is winning, God is winning, and God is filling our hearts, our minds, our spirit, and our home. And that's what I care about, because once that's right, we can do business outside of the home, so to speak. We can love our kids. We can love our grandkids. We can serve everyone that we get to meet. We can pour out love on them. But when God wins in this way of learning how to regulate, to give pause, to experience a heart of gratitude, even when you're in conflict, even to make sure your spirit is joined with God as you're communicating love and respect and honor. These are all ways that help us to be more successful in resolving conflict quickly, doing a very quick repair.
Well, and the next element of the Japanese style of resolving conflict is called hara, H-A-R-A. And that's where, and hara is translated to contain the conflict. So rather than to pile on with the conflict and to overgeneralize or to do black and white thinking or to do magical thinking, all these irrational ways of thought, what you're doing is you're containing it so that you don't let the emotions just spill out everywhere. And so, Barbie, as we've been reading this and studying this and then learning this and then teaching this at events and different venues, I'm looking out over the audience and I'm thinking, you can see that people are just going, this is different. I mean, they're sitting there and you can see them kind of reflecting that, gosh, this takes self-discipline.
Yeah, it does.
And that's what this is all about.
It takes a teachable spirit.
And to self-regulate.
Yeah.
So you don't just do what's natural. This is defining the natural man or woman and choosing to do something different. But to Barbie, to your point, it's putting the relationship over the issue. So it's saying I'm more committed to us being heard and listened to and safe than winning or controlling or getting our way. It's a whole different way to do this. And there was a guy at Crossroads this morning. I said, how old are you? And he was sitting right in front of me and I was walking around. He said, 24. I said, are you married? He goes, no. And I said, well, did you meet a girl in the parking lot? Or, do you have a girlfriend? He said, yeah. What's her name? Paige. I don't know this guy's name. And I had him stand up. And I said, Paige, or I said, why are you here? And he said, because I want to learn this stuff before I get married. And the guy started cheering. The other 199 guys. I said, you guys, don't you wish you had been in this room before you were married so that you could learn this stuff on the front end? And he was drinking this stuff up, Barbie, because he wants to be a good husband. He wants to be a good spiritual leader when he does decide to marry. And he is teachable, learning how. Now, I don't know his background. I don't know if he grew up in a healthy home and his parents did it great or, what he grew up in. But the guy was surrounding himself with 100 other guys at 6:30 in the morning to learn how to do it.
That's impressive.
It's impressive. And I thought this is a great husband in training.
It is. And we need to be lifelong learners. Doesn't matter how long you've been married or how old you are. We also, since we've covered the power, the importance, the success rate of quick repairs, we also want to say that we're not talking about not always having a perfect resolution.
Yeah.
Another part of the Japanese metaphor is called kintsugi. And many of you are familiar with it. Some of you are not. Let me define it. It is a repairing of broken pottery with gold. The cracks are not hidden, but they are illuminated because all around the edges you paint gold. And they are honored. Listen to this. Strong marriages aren't unbroken. they are well repaired.
That is so good.
One
Barbie.
of my very dearest friends for my birthday gave me 2 encased plates of kintsugi.
Yeah.
And they hang right over where I do my dishes or where I make meals, which is not often enough. How's that? But it's in my it's in my kitchen. And I love to look at something. The colors are illuminated.
Mm-hmm.
The gold shows how powerful the encasement is around those broken pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something for us to learn about. Perhaps you looked at life maybe you were young and you looked ahead and you thought you would be able to go through life unbroken. I think many of us started off that way and were quite surprised for when there were trials or there were conflicts, there were disappointments, there was distance, there was distrust. The list can go on and on. But if you can repair, if you can give pause, repair quickly, give pause, and then if you can connect to one another and realize there is seeking out the beautiful in the hard. Yeah. Let me say that again. You are looking for the beautiful in the hard. Do you realize that every hard thing you go through, there is something beautiful that can be discovered because of it? Recently, I was watching Arthur Brooks, who is a professor at Harvard University, and he said, don't waste the suffering. He said, make a suffering book. What's that look like? He said, write down the disappointment, then leave 2 blanks. The first blank you come back to in 1 month and you write down, what have I learned? What have I gained from this loss or this disappointment? And then the third line beneath the word, he said, come back to in, say, 3 to 6 months and really journal about the beautiful you discovered in the loss, in the hardship, in the purging, in the pain. And so get this. This is a reminder list so that when the next trial happens, the next disappointment happens, the next suffering happens, you can look into it with this idea of the wealth is ahead because I will be looking for the beautiful in the hard. Gary, what's next?
Well, the last phase that they talk about in Japanese conflict resolution is to resolve within a time boundary. Proverbs 15:1 says a gentle answer turns away wrath. So in the Japanese culture, unresolved tension is considered damaging to harmony. Isn't it interesting? I mean, so in the Japanese culture, they are intentionally pursuing harmony. And you know what? If I ask, people in my culture, what is it that you want your marriage to experience? I don't very often hear harmony. I hear, great sex, or I hear a good communicator, or I hear taking a vacation together, or I hear raising healthy kids, or being in a good small group. I don't hear a lot of people go, what our goal is to retain harmony. But it's interesting that this ancient culture that goes way before us is saying pursue harmony. And so keep your conflict within boundary because it disrupts the harmony. And you don't want to have a level 8, 9, 10 volcano or tornado or whatever it is in the midst of your home when you can deal with it at a level 1 or 2. Deal with one issue at a time. Restrict it. Don't allow the emotions to not self-regulate, but do just the opposite. Self-regulate first, then resolve the conflict within 30 minutes. Can you imagine that mantra in our homes?
Well, we do have it in our home because we may not say harmony. That's not our word, but what we do say is peace.
Yeah.
And
no, we do say peace.
We do say peace. Yeah. And I love Philippians chapter 2, which says, if you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, any comfort from his love, any gentleness from the Spirit, then make
my joy complete
by being
like-minded.
What?
Like-minded.
Like-minded. What else?
Having the same purpose.
Having the same love, being one in spirit and purpose.
Yeah.
That's peace. That's being united. that's having harmony that comes from
good, Barbie.
Christ, that flows from him to us individually. And the overflow is when we seek to have that quiet space, that pause, to be still and know that I am God, to invite him into those 3 to 5 minutes before you open your mouth. Be quick to listen, slow to anger,
slow to speak.
And slow to speak. I mean, these are biblical constructs.
So, Barbie, hence, the strongest spouse isn't the loudest one. It's the calmest one. The strongest spouse isn't the one that can talk the longest. It's the one that can pause and ponder and reflect and then pivot and be apt, as the Proverbs say. The word is apt as gold, to be apt with our response. The strongest one is the one who honors and reflects honor with their spouse and esteems them and lifts them up. Yeah, I told the guys at Crossdrivers this morning that I said, you guys, your wife is the picture, you're the frame. And I told them about our ballroom dancing and how we learned that you're the picture, I'm the frame. And my job is to frame, not frame you in a negative way, but to put a frame around you to elevate you and to exercise team weight and to have a love that goes the distance and to model something for our kids and grandkids that they want to do even better than we do. And I think that they will, because they've got the opportunity to learn it early on. Team weight. Friends, that's what we're trying to help you identify. How do you get team weight? How do you get to the other side? How do you have conflict? Because it's healthy, but not react in it, but to respond in it. How to take a deep breath and how to reflect honor in everything that we do. We're delighted to be with you. Please rank this, subscribe to it, share it with your friends, these podcasts. I'm talking to a lot of guys. I had a guy today, and you know who it is, and we're seeing him in coaching, I think, tomorrow. And he's listening to every podcast, he and his wife, and they've been married a long time. But they're teachable, and they're drinking this stuff up like, it's Kool-Aid, because they get it, they like it, it resonates, and it's new information in order to encourage them. We're glad we get to encourage you. God bless you. Guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus, and we will see you next time on the Rosbergs, your marriage coaches.
Hey listeners, make sure to stay up to date with the Rosbergs by subscribing to their show, Your Marriage Coaches, on any major podcast platform such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you will get an alert each time a new episode is released. Whatever platform you're listening on, please rate the podcast and leave us a review.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Rosbergs, Your Marriage Coaches, with Dr. Gary and Barbie Rosberg. To find out more, go to americasfamilycoaches.com. Once you're there, you can check out the many resources that they have available, from their many books to their informative video series, 6 Secrets to a Lasting Love. They've got all the tools you need to help you grow deeper in your relationship with your spouse and with God. Go to americasfamilycoaches.com and click on the Resources tab. We appreciate your prayers and support for this ministry. Find out how you can come alongside us when you go to americasfamilycoaches.com. Just search the top of the index for the Donate tab. Thank you for listening in today. Be sure to join us next time for another episode of The Rosbergs, Your Marriage Coaches, with Gary and Barbie Rosberg.